Just when it looked like this entire situation was finally slowing down, another twist changed everything. For weeks, people have been asking the same question. Is this finally over? On the surface, it certainly looks that way. The headlines have become quieter. The daily updates aren't as frequent. And some people have already moved on to the next internet controversy. But once you actually look at what's happening behind the scenes, it's pretty clear the story is far from finished. Because several major questions still haven't been answered. And depending on what happens next, the biggest chapter of this entire controversy may not have even happened yet. If you've somehow missed this whole situation, here's the short version. Back in 2023, an 83-year-old man named Ed Mansell consigned his Star Wars Lego collection to a Bricks and Minifigs store in Keizer, Oregon. Ed had been collecting since the early 1990s. Some of those sets are now worth thousands of dollars each individually. The collection as a whole was publicly promoted as being worth well over $200,000. The deal was simple. The store would sell pieces from the collection, split the proceeds with Mansell, and return anything unsold. For a while, it seemed to work. But then in November 2024, everything changed. Bricks and Minifigs Corporate stepped in and transferred ownership of that Keizer store to new operators. And according to Brian Mansell, Ed's son, the new owners refused to return any unsold inventory or honor the original consignment agreement. That's when a YouTuber named Reckless Ben Schneider got involved. He started publishing videos. Those videos spread throughout the Lego community and then beyond it. Then came legal threats, temporary restraining orders, court filings, public statements, more responses, and almost every single attempt to end the controversy seemed to create another headline instead. Instead of disappearing, the story kept getting bigger. Now it's understandable why many people think this has reached its conclusion. There haven't been explosive new revelations every single day. Some of the legal filings have already been heard. Certain online discussions have slowed down. From the outside, it almost feels like the dust has settled. But that's only if you're looking at the headlines. Because underneath those headlines, the situation is still very much moving. One of the first things that made this story complicated was that nobody could agree on basic facts. Starting with the value of the collection itself. The Bricks and Minifigs Salem Keizer Facebook page originally promoted the collection as being worth well over $200,000. Brian Mansell estimated it at $150,000 to $200,000. But Bricks and Minifigs Corporate later argued it was only worth between $60,000 and $80,000. Then investigative journalist Keizer got involved. After reviewing internal store records, his investigation found the Salem store had actually appraised the collection at between $85,000 and $120,000. On June 4, 2026, Bricks and Minifigs published a statement saying, and this is important, that both parties' own records placed the realistic high-end value at approximately $95,000 to $100,000. So the number that went viral, $200,000, came from a 2023 Facebook post promoting a public display event. That promotional figure is what traveled across the internet. But the actual disputed amount appears to be significantly lower. That doesn't make the story go away. But it does mean that every claim in this controversy needs to be looked at carefully. Because the gap between what gets shared online and what the documents actually say is often much wider than people realize. Here's another layer that often gets missed in the short version of this story. This isn't just two sides. It's at least three. First, the Mansell family. Brian Mansell, representing his elderly father Ed, says the collection was never properly returned and the contract was never honored after the ownership change. Second, BAM Franchising, the corporate side of Bricks and Minifigs. They say they weren't even a party to the original consignment agreement, which they describe as unauthorized. Under their franchise rules, consignment of Lego products isn't supposed to be allowed. They also say their internal investigation found evidence that more than half of the collection had already been sold before the new owners even took over, with over $52,000 in sales documented in their point-of-sale records. Third, Crystal Law Gorman and Benjamin Gorman, the original franchise owners. They say corporate illegally seized their store, changed the locks, and forced them out under threat of police action, without notice or compensation. In March 2026, they filed their own lawsuit against BAM Franchising, alleging breach of contract and defamation. 3 lawsuits, 3 competing narratives, and each one directly contradicts parts of the others. That's why the story hasn't ended. Because courts don't move at internet speed. Now let's talk about what really made this explode. Because the legal dispute alone might have stayed a regional news story. What turned it into a national controversy was Reckless Ben Schneider. Starting in May 2026, he published a series of videos alleging the collection had been illegally retained. Those videos got millions of views. He set up a GoFundMe for the Mansell family. That fundraiser passed $445,000 as of early June 2026. He incorporated a fake rival business called We Steal From Old People, using Bricks and Minifigs branding, which he described as a deliberate attempt to provoke legal action and force the dispute into court. He even sent a deepfake video of Brian Mansell appearing to issue an apology, to test whether the sets would be returned. According to Schneider, they were not. Then came his trips to Utah. He claimed he was attempting to serve legal papers to franchise owner Josh Johnson at his home in American Fork, Utah. What followed was one of the most bizarre parts of this story. Schneider said he was arrested twice in Utah. He claimed officers searched his vehicles, detained him for multiple days, and that his shoulder was dislocated by an officer during one of those arrests. On March 10, 2026, he and several members of his film crew were formally charged with stalking, targeted picketing, and trespassing. He was released on bail. Then American Fork police issued another arrest warrant. And Schneider, and this is real, fled to Mexico to avoid capture. If this sounds like something out of a movie, that's because it kind of is, but these are documented facts. And then came the development that silenced everything. On May 28, 2026, a judge in Utah's 4th Judicial District, Judge Tony Graff Jr., signed a temporary restraining order. Case number 260402353, Utah County. That order required Schneider to remove his videos about the dispute. It prohibited him from coming within 1,000 yards of company employees' homes. And it effectively prevented him from posting Part 3 of his investigation, which he says was already finished and ready to publish. Schneider addressed this directly in a video titled My Final Message. His words were, "I can't post it or I will go to jail. And not only that, I will also immediately lose my lawsuit and the GoFundMe we made for Brian will go straight to this mystery company I am no longer allowed to talk about." He added that normally he'd be willing to risk the legal consequences, but the lawsuit affects his friends and the money raised for the Mansell family. So Part 3 remains unpublished. The GoFundMe was briefly taken down on June 9, 2026. It showed a fundraiser not found error. Bricks and Minifigs denied trying to seize it. The fundraiser was restored the following day, June 10th, having reached approximately $457,000 by that point. Now here's something worth paying attention to. A temporary restraining order that stops a journalist from publishing his reporting is exactly the kind of thing that press freedom watchers flag as a prior restraint issue. Courts are generally very reluctant to tell someone they cannot publish information before it's even released. That's a legal concept called prior restraint, and it has a high bar to clear. Legal observers covering this case have noted that question exists. And on June 16, 2026, Crystal Law Gorman and Benjamin Gorman filed to intervene in the Reckless Ben lawsuit. Their position? They were never defendants in the Schneider case. But the TRO's language is broad enough that it could restrict their speech about their own separate dispute with BAM. They asked the court to narrow or dissolve that order. If the judge agrees, the legal roadblock keeping Part 3 offline could be removed. The court has not yet ruled on that filing. Perhaps the biggest challenge for Bricks and Minifigs isn't even the legal side anymore. It's reputation. Lawsuits eventually end. Court hearings eventually finish. But public perception is much harder to reverse. The Patreon CEO, Jack Conte, publicly told Bricks and Minifigs to, in his words, stuff it, and said they could sue Patreon instead, after the company filed a takedown notice against Schneider's Patreon page. The Bricks and Minifigs store in Sacramento received threats and reported a hostile environment from people online who were angry about the controversy. A Bricks and Minifigs store in Sacramento closed temporarily. The original Keizer store permanently closed. And every new customer who searches the company online now finds months of controversy. Videos, articles, discussions, social media posts, whether that's fair or unfair. That's the reality of how internet controversies work today. Another reason this story isn't finished is because the community hasn't stopped talking about it. Whenever a new filing appears, people analyze it. Whenever someone releases another video, it spreads almost immediately. Whenever someone involved makes another statement, people compare it against everything that came before. In other words, the audience has become part of the investigation. And once that happens, stories usually last much longer than anyone expects. Bricks and Minifigs published 4 separate blog posts trying to address the controversy. The CEO went on a public livestream. The former franchisees gave interviews. CoffeeZilla published his own investigation. Each new piece of content created another wave of reaction. And at no point did any of it quiet things down for long. Now here's where things become interesting. There are still several possible outcomes. The court still hasn't ruled on the Law Gorman motion to narrow the TRO. If it's dissolved or narrowed, Part 3 could drop. The civil RICO lawsuit filed by Bricks and Minifigs against Schneider, the Mansell family, and others is still active. The lawsuit filed by Law Gorman against BAM Franchising is still active. Mansell has reportedly declined any settlement that would require a public apology, because doing so could weaken potential legal claims. And Bricks and Minifigs has said it is still prepared to compensate Mansell for anything unaccounted for. Whether those two sides actually reach an agreement, nobody knows yet. Sometimes the biggest development isn't a shocking headline. Sometimes it's simply time. Because time reveals which claims hold up, which narratives change, and which stories people continue believing. So, is the Bricks and Minifigs story over? Not even close. The daily headlines may have slowed, but the underlying issues haven't disappeared. There are still active lawsuits on multiple fronts. There's still a finished video that cannot legally be published. There's still a GoFundMe that was briefly shut down and then restored. There are still unresolved questions about who bears responsibility for a collection that's been disputed for over a year. The legal questions still exist. The public debate continues. The community is still paying attention. And until those questions finally receive clear answers, this story will keep evolving. The only real question now is what the next chapter looks like. Because if this controversy has taught us anything, it's that every time people think it's finally over, another twist seems to arrive.